welcome to episode 7 of the Scott Allen CreatiVLOG. I'm Jason Brewer, one of the hosts. I'm here with Jeff Terpstra, another host, also probably the major host because he is the founder and president of Scott Allen Creative, a marketing agency for nonprofits. And we are creating these small mini video series for you that are in the nonprofit world who find yourself on a development team or a marketing team or in charge of those aspects, maybe together it's the same person, and you're just looking for insights in what to do to market your organization, your nonprofit. And so these are just small, short videos. If you haven't checked out our previous 6 episodes, I encourage you to go and do so. We are discussing how to develop a marketing plan, and we talked about the first 2 steps, which step 1 was assess the needs. Step 2 is prioritize those needs. And now we're kind of going to step 3, the final step of calendarizing all those priorities and discussing it. And a marketing plan, we've been saying it's essentially a roadmap for navigating the marketing objectives and business goals. It helps you know where you're going. And those priorities that we discussed in previous episodes, those are your destinations. But how to get there is those step-by-step things. And I think of my mom when I think of a roadmap. And my mom, when I became the age to drive, and I'd say, hey, I'm going out and I'm heading over here. And she'd be like, hey, you know how to get there? I'd be like, I'll figure it out. She'd pull out the roadmap.
How old are you? That was a long time ago.
I am 17 years old.
Okay.
Not really. More than twice that age. But when I was younger, and she would always bring out the roadmap, a physical roadmap. Nowadays, it's obviously everybody is walking around with a GPS. You could go anywhere and you're not even thinking about those steps. But she would show me step by step how to get to the destination. She would say, this is how to go, and she'd write out those steps. And that's essentially what this marketing plan is when you are able to throw up onto a whiteboard or a calendar those priorities, those major objectives, you put them on a calendar. But you can get so overwhelmed with all of your needs. Like how do you go about doing what's next?
Yeah, this is a challenge because you're looking at 30, 50, who knows how many items that you're going to ultimately put on that calendar, right? But it goes back to what we discussed earlier about setting a tier 1 priority. I love whiteboarding. So I love just having an empty whiteboard and just begin by tier 1, putting up the most obvious items, the ones that we know for sure are going to take place. For example, if I have a monthly newsletter, that goes up there. If I have an annual report in July, that goes up there. If our major fundraising event is in September, that goes up there. If I post twice a week, those dates go up there. And I just begin with that basic tier 1 framework. Maybe I'll have one color for that. And then as I start looking at our other marketing initiatives and needs, I'm going to add a tier 2 to that, and then a tier 3 if we need it. And then what makes that so beautiful, you guys, is that it helps you see the gaps. Like you might say, well, from April to May, we really don't have a lot going on. What could we say during that gap period that's not really filled in with anything? And really the marketing calendar almost starts writing itself.
And essentially, once you have those dates or the objectives, priorities on the whiteboard or on a calendar, and you can kind of start seeing the layout, you start working backwards, right? You start going, what needs to be communicated or developed or created in order for that thing to happen? What message do we need to develop? What meeting do we need to set up in order to have what it takes? And I know in business, there's the thing called quarterly rocks. What's that quarterly goal that you have, that major thing that you're striving for? And then it's broken down into weekly sprints. And weekly sprints are really, what am I working on and focused on in that week in order to drive towards that major rock, that objective, that major event that you have on the calendar? All those things, it's just thinking logistically, like breaking it down instead of reacting and go, I should be focused on this, on this. Once you have this calendar, once you have this marketing plan, you can kind of see how things are communicating with other departments, how things are flowing, how many times your audience is being bombarded by your emails. Because if you don't stack those things up, you may be sending out a dozen emails and not realize you're sending out a dozen emails, and your audience are like, stop sending me the emails, versus like, hey, we're really heavy on this month. Let's move that communication piece to another month.
So I just want to bring up one more thing. I know, again, we're running so much longer than what we planned on, but we recognize that for some of you who are in one-person shops or 3 people and there should be 5, there's a lot of stress because there's limitations. You can only do so much. So I would encourage you, create those 3 tiers and go to your leadership and say, here's the capacity we have. From our perspective, we can handle tier 1 or maybe part of tier 2, but we know we can't handle the other part of tier 2 and tier 3 without either more time or money or talent and resources that we need to bring in. I know this is so hard, but I think the leadership needs to understand, number 1, that you have a plan, and number 2, that plan is limited, right? Because you can't do everything. And that's the stress that I see a lot in people that I meet in nonprofit marketing and development, that the pressure is to do everything, but the limitations are there. So if you could please communicate that as well as you can to leadership, and hopefully they'll understand, we hope.
Yeah. Hope that kind of helps you in whatever stage you are in, whatever position you find yourself in at a nonprofit, but really we want to provide those insights. And as we kind of wrap up this marketing plan aspect of marketing, the destination, just break it down on how you're going to get there. And it allows you to just know the route to take. So thank you for joining us today on this video. Your passion is our inspiration.